Because everything can change in 13 months. At least that's also what happened for me. So we're gonna talk about everything when it comes to this video. What business you should start, what clients to go after, how to gradually raise your prices, and your business procedures. Everything you need for a starter kit. And so, starting with the introduction to one of, if not my most favorite book that I've ever seen, or at least the idea of it. It goes by many names: the Ikigai Method, the Hedgehog Principle, but the name we're gonna give it for this time is Brilliant. And I'll tell you why, because of the little drawing that's on the back of this one, but it's a bit too small, so we're gonna show it on another paper. Because it will also tell us what our business should be about. As you can see right here on this paper. On the left is what you love to do, on the right is what will make you money, on the bottom is what you're good at, and at the top is what is good for the world, because that should always be the top priority. I'll put that down gently for a moment, because the concept is the thing that you're most best suited to do in these little fleeting moments of life will be the intersection of all of those four things. Because sometimes those things aren't necessarily the same, and I'll give you a couple of examples based on my own self. So for example, I'm decently good at math, but I don't love to do it. I don't think there's a lot of money to it, and whether it's good for the world is very arguable. I've never seen a teenager go and say, "Hey, I love math." Yeah, no, it's the bane of everyone's existence. I'm good at software engineering. I can write decent code, and it just has a general good fit to my personality. There's a lot of money to it, you can do a lot of good for the world to it, and I'm decent at it, but when it comes to loving it, it's meh. I don't really feel anything for it. So it's also off the table. Video editing though? Oh boy. Now that's looking good, especially the business side of it, because I enjoy that part very much. I have passion for it. There's a lot of good in the world. If you do it with the right content, you can make a bit of money. It's safe to say that I'm very decent at it or so. I made another video about how you can dissect the whole Ikigai exercise in better detail, but I'll just give you a quick nutshell here. Just go to an empty silent room, set a timer for 15 minutes for each column, and just write out whatever comes to your mind. And when the hour is done, after you do it 4 times for each column, just underline the parts that seem to be interconnected or have the same principles to them, and that will be generally your best direction. I'll also link the video to it at the end. And I stress this a lot because everything from what I've seen when it comes to business and life just comes down to generally good quality. If you have incredible quality, then most things just tend to come and work themselves out. So it's much better to just lean into your strengths and trying to make them as refined and polished as possible. Or well, that's what produced the best results for me. And the evidence is right in front of you. Now, I'm not the best creator by any means yet, but the video before the last one with hundreds of views on it, yeah, that just happened because I went with the best idea that I had and executed on it the best way that I possibly knew how when it came to the thumbnail, the hook, and the editing. Now, they're not incredible numbers by any means, but they're 20 times my average. It just goes to show that doing it a little bit better gets you way more than the effort that you put into it. Okay, so now we have the product slash service that we can actually help people with, that we can give them a service with. But how do we find them? You know, I did not think that far when I first started out, but later on I managed to find a nice little trick when it comes to it. And I can't blame anyone, to be perfectly fair. You can't recognize or know what you've never seen or done before. So here's how I do it. You just try to put yourself in the client slash customer's shoes and see in what possible scenario they would ever go for buying something like that. Or you just look at the big players in the game and see what their clients are usually like, how old they are, where they come from, what kind of language they speak, what their budgets are, that sort of thing. I'll use myself as an example since I run a video editing business, so it was natural for me to think, what kind of person would need a video editor? Well, someone that creates videos. And who would those be? They'd be content creators, businesses trying to create content for marketing, or other media companies that are trying to create creatives to run as ads. Private clients that have a lot of money that want a video edited for personal needs, like a wedding, some family trip, some life documentary, things like that. And using that, you find yourself looking through a lens that gives you a lot of possible options. And in my case, for the other point, I said I could just go to video editor portfolio sites and see what kind of clients and people that they're working with, so I can get an idea of what kind of content and what kind of people I want to work with. When it comes to business procedures themselves, at least in my experience, 80% of it just comes down to how can you prove that you can do what you say that you can do. And so in most cases, that just comes down to video testimonials from clients or content pieces that you have put out online that are associated to your name, things like that. So you can just start out by offering your services for free for 10 people. Your focus here on just trying to get better and get as many video testimonials as you possibly can, and then just transcribe those into text and put all of that on a landing page with your offer on it. And make sure that you try to get them into video testimonials because they're a lot more believable, authentic, and personal. So it's a lot more convincing. And after those 10 people, then just start slowly upping the price with every new person that comes on board, while of course improving your skills and abilities. If you hit a point with your prospects where every time that you come to starting a new job or a new gig with them, and their main complaint is, hey, the price is too high, and it comes across multiple people at multiple points in time, then you probably just overdid it a bit. So either have to increase the quality of the work, or you have to offer them more stuff to make more money. And a great way to avoid any scammers or just any people that are likely to be very difficult or uncooperative is to try to charge 50% upfront of any new client that you work with, so you can get things working and the ball rolling. If someone refuses to do it, or you really feel like you have to convince and push on them so they can do it, then it's not a good sign, and it's a very red flag, and you should heavily reconsider going through with it. Because I never had a good experience pushing through that, but all of my good clients have always agreed to that 50% deposit upfront. So it's a very solid rule that I try to go with. Obviously, you can do that at the free stage, but after a few paid clients and you look a lot more solid and your website looks a lot more professional and credible, then you can start putting that in. You just have to look clearly legit and not just some rando or possible scammer on the internet. And so with that, I disappear into the night.